So today we're going to be talking about the Van Healy levels of geometric thought, and basically these levels describe the way students go through learning geometry, learning from basic shapes all the way up to advanced geometry. These levels have nothing to do with age or grade. There could be a high school student at level 0, or there could be a first grader at level 2. It really depends on the student and also how they're taught, who's teaching them. So these levels just really give us an idea to be able to assess where students are at in learning geometry and what activities we can do to help them get to the next level. One thing to keep in mind is that you can't skip any levels. You have to go through all of them in sequential order. So you have to go from level 0 to level 1, from level 1 to level 2, and so on. You can't just skip from 1 to 3 or from 0 to 2. Everything has to be in sequence. So when you're doing activities with students to get through the Van Healy levels, you need to make sure that these activities are helping them progress to the next level. Okay, so we have a student with us today, Rachel, and she's going to help demonstrate an activity that would be done with students at level 0 to help them move towards level 1. So students at level 0, they have the ability to describe figures using names of shapes, but they can't talk about the properties or attributes yet. So a lot of times they'll describe it based on objects they know. They'll say, something like a square is a square because it looks like a table, or a circle is a circle because it looks like a pizza. They'll relate it to things that they have already seen and that they know. So we're going to do an activity today. Rachel is going to be a level 0 student, and again, like I said, it doesn't matter the age or grade. This could be any age, just depending on the student. So Rachel, I'm going to give you all these shapes, and what I want you to do is I want you to look at these shapes, and I want you to group them based on which ones look alike. And you could have 2 groups if you want, you could have 3 groups. Try to think, okay, which shape does this look like? Which one does this look like? And I want you to group them together, okay? So take your time and go ahead and group them together. Okay, so how many groups do you have?
2.
Okay, so how did you choose these groups?
The first group I put with all curvy sides or round sides, and then the other group, the second group, is all straight sides.
Good. So what's the difference between this shape and this shape? What's the difference there? What made you choose to put them in 2 different groups?
This one is round all around and has no sides, and this one has sides.
Good.
Multiple.
Okay, so this one has straight parts, right? And then this one has no straight parts. It's just all curved. Excellent. Okay, good. So do you think you could draw for me another shape that would go into this first group with your sides? So you can look at some of these and get some ideas if you want to take your time. Excellent. Very good. So why would that go into this group again?
Because they are straight sides.
Good. So they have straight sides. Excellent. So you're going to draw one more shape. Can you draw a shape that would go into that group now, your second group that you made? It can be any kind of shape you want, just as long as it has curves. Okay, so let's look at the shape that you just drew. So it definitely has curves. It definitely has curves. That's okay to laugh, it's okay. Working with shapes can be silly. Okay, so let's look at this shape. So it has a lot of curves, right? So do you see with these shapes, you see how there's no lines going through them, right? It's all just one big line around, right?
Right.
So do you think you could draw another shape where, look, there's space inside of it? Any shape just with curves, You do one like this one, as many curves as you want. okay, take your time. Excellent, good. So how is this shape a part of this group? What did you say this group was based on before?
Roundness.
Good, roundness. Okay, so they had no straight sides. So does this fit that?
Yes.
Good, excellent. So therefore, you drew some shapes that fit into your categories. Good. All right, great job. So here, you can erase that if you want. And the next activity we're going to do is for a student that is on level 1 and is moving towards level 2. And by the way, that activity that we just did, it meets a kindergarten TEK, which is classifying and sorting a variety of shapes, regardless of orientation or size, just sorting them, into groups and stuff based on something that they notice. So now we're going to do an activity that would take a level 1 student and it would move them towards level 2. So level 1 students, they know a little bit more properties than 0. They can name like maybe they recognize shapes have like certain amounts of sides or vertices. And they're past kind of just describing it based on what it looks like. They can actually identify some properties of a shape. They can be more descriptive. So things that you can do with them are property list activities. Try to talk about properties, introduce them to more properties, compare the shapes, describe shapes without using pictures. Try to encourage them to describe it in other ways besides pictures. So what we're going to do now is we're going to mix up these shapes. We're going to work with them again. So now, Rachel, I want you to pick a property of these shapes. I want you to focus on a property. And, like we've talked about properties a little bit before, but properties could be something like the number of sides, the number of vertices, things like that. So I want you to pick a property to focus on, and I want you to group these shapes based on that property. The property you can have as many groups as you want. Just try to base it on one property, though. Okay, so how many groups do you have?
6.
6 groups. Okay, so tell me about this first group. What's the first group going on? What's going on there?
This first group has no sides.
Okay, so they have no sides. They're all circular. What about this second group? Why is this guy alone?
Because he has 2.
He has 2 sides. Okay, cool. So this is a side and then that's a side.
Yes.
All right, cool. What about this guy?
There are 3 sides.
3 sides. Here?
They each have 4 sides.
4 sides.
6 and 5.
5, great. So you grouped your properties you grouped your shapes based on how many sides the objects had. That's a great property to group it by. So what if I told you to group it by another property? What's one that we talked about a little bit that you could think of?
Vertices.
So what's a vertice? Can you point to a vertice for me?
Be like the corner.
Good.
Of the
So
shape.
where 2 sides meet.
Yes.
So do these shapes, do they have any vertices?
No.
No? Why not?
Because they're round.
Good. Good. So they don't have any points where they don't have any straight sides to
Yes.
meet and make a vertice. So how many vertices would this shape have?
6.
Excellent. Good. So you just count the number of corners. Good. Okay. So you did a good job grouping these. So this activity really helps students to focus on a specific property. It helps them to talk about properties a little bit more and compare the shapes, see why aren't these shapes the same as these shapes in that property. It helps them to focus on just a property. It helps them to move away from concepts of, well, this is a rectangle because it looks like a door. And it helps them to focus on more mathematical or geometrical terms such as sides, vertices, things like that. So Rachel, for our last activity, I'm going to describe a shape to you, and I'd like you just to draw it as best as you can, okay? Okay, so you can wait if you want till I'm finished describing it to draw it, or you can start whenever you want. Okay, so this shape has 3 vertices, and it also has 3 straight lines. Excellent, good. So I said it has 3 vertices, which you have. You have 1, 2, 3, and it has 3 lines. 3 sides, 2, 3. Good job. Okay, so what about if I told you this shape has no vertices and no sides? Good. A circle is a great example of a shape that has no vertices and no sides. Okay, well, thank you, Rachel, for your participation today. So just to review, we talked about the Van Healy model, which talks about the different levels that students go through geometry in. It basically breaks down their work or their progress into levels, and it doesn't matter, once again, on the age of the student. It's, it doesn't say that, if you're in 3rd grade, you need to be on this level. It doesn't matter. It really just is dependent on the student. Like I said, there are students that could be in middle school, high school that are on level 0 or level 1, and there are younger students that could be on level 2, level 3. So it just depends on the student and their teaching. So hopefully these activities help you to help move your students along from one level to the next. Thank you.